Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and just to sort of like follow up from our OK Cupid sort of like article we did yesterday, you may remember that in Chris's fourth attempt at using OK Cupid, because OK Cupid is an app that deciphers people through simple questions and all that. You might want to likely to know that apparently Chris answered I think it's like about 1,333 questions he asked. So this ought to be quite interesting because I'm gonna like move my camera out of the way for this second because this is like I'll just go through here. Look at how many we've got to get through here. So we're just gonna like not really hang about and just kind of like get started. So list of OK Cupid answers. OK Cupid determines match rankings between its users by asking them a series of questions and determining how they answer. These questions are randomly assigned and can be answered whenever the user feels like it. A bit like Chris. The user can select a single answer for themselves and multiple answers that he or she would be okay with potential matches picking. The user can also choose to add a brief personal comment to an answered question. Chris has answered hundreds of questions over the years on his various profiles. So, this is one for Chris C. Solitude, Level Up King, and Level Up Queen. So, we'll do the Chris C. Solitude profile first. Due to the tireless efforts of Clyde Cash, we have obtained archives of many of Chris's answers submitted for his second OK Cupid profile, because I think in the first one he answered 0 in 2009. As is the norm with Chris, the answers range from complete honesty to untrue things that he genuinely believes, to complete lies that he thinks girls want to hear. Chris's personal answers are underlined, and answers he would like girls to pick are in green. There is considerable overlap between the two. Yeah. Chris answers and the ones he would like girls. Okay. Politics and law. In a relationship, I like to discuss politics with my partner. And apparently all the time, sure, I'm interested in sharing our beliefs. Sometimes it depends. Hardly politics are boring or personal. Sharing beliefs, yeah, that sounds like something Chris would do, whether or not they asked for it or not. Which of the following is more appropriate penalty for rape? Death, castration, prison, community service, or less? Kind of have to like agree with Chris there. Prison is a pretty yeah, prison's pretty. Exactly. Well, yeah. Which is more offensive, book burning or flag burning? Chris thinks flag burning is. Should burning your country's flag be illegal? Yes. Well, all I could say really for that one is that Chris hasn't stopped people from doing it in the past, and it's gonna happen in the future anyway. So. That's not really me having a dig at Chris. I'm just saying in general. Politically, which are more important to you right now? Social issues, economic issues. I don't really care about politics. Yeah, well, Chris cares about, shoving beliefs down other people's throats, but nothing political or anything like that. You can see that, especially when it comes to the 2016 presidential election, that a lot of that was determined by Chris not knowing jack squat about politics, and just because he doesn't like Trump because he's a male or something like that. Relationships. How important is it for you to make physical contact when showing affection for someone? Very important. Well, apparently he doesn't want them to say not important, and I'd say I would at least have that highlighted, because I would say something between not and somewhat, because, well, intimacy, if you wanted to have children, intimacy is going to have to occur at any case. Well, unless you want to do, like, I don't know, IVF treatment or something like that. But then again, that would probably be very expensive and just doesn't seem, So, very important. it just, well, much to probably the other girl's horror, possibly. Would you strongly prefer to date someone of your own skin color or racial background? Yes. Well, I would answer no, only because, well, one, it would make me look not racist. That's a pretty good. It's a good thing, especially when you're doing stuff like this, is to present yourself honestly for who you really are. And Chris, at least we know, has no shame. Not that I'm saying that, you know, people who only date someone with their own skin and racial background are racist, but, you know, most of all, I want to meet someone who deserves my trust, loyalty, admiration. Loyalty, right? Okay. Let's discuss Chris's loyalty in some detail. During the Jackie sort of like saga, one of the videos he made where he went for JR's eyes only, he calls Jackie Ivy a few times, and even when on the same day when his dad was dying in hospital, Chris posted a note on Facebook, another attraction sign, basically, even though he was supposed to be seeing Jackie anyway. But yeah, loyalty, just so Chris can do what he wants and she will be too dumbstruck to even think about leaving. Yeah, loyalty my backside. If you inevitably found a phone number in a partner's pocket, which would you do? Call the number to see who this is. This is something Chris wouldn't do. Openly ask who the number is for. Nothing, I would trust my partner. Nothing, my partner's privacy should be respected. Well, all I would say to this one is that, well, Chris, how do we know Chris wouldn't be playing around if he was married? Because I think that amount of, like, love, care, and respect would be too much for, you know, Chris to, you know, bother dealing with. If you were in a serious relationship and you learned that your partner cheated on you one drunken night, could you forgive him or her? No, never. Chris rules out. I don't believe in monogamy. Chris apparently doesn't believe in monogamy, or that he would ever leave them, or that he would never forgive them. It depends on the situation. I'm really actually not too certain about this one myself, because I'm not entirely sure it really. You would want to hear them out, but you're gonna have to make a decision. That's what I would add. It depends on the situation and what my consensus towards this is. Yes. Yes, if she was sincerely sorry. Well, again, you would have to understand, well, probably what Chris constitutes, you know, being sorry, like groveling, begging at their feet. Because, you know, he placed loyalty above, you know, trust and admiration and gratitude. So maybe that's it's a terrible thing when you might possibly guess right that this is the sort of thing that Chris would probably do, or how he sees, you know, it's still snowing, how he would see, you know, retribution anyway. If you were going to have a child, would you want the other parent to be of the same ethnicity as you? Yes, no, this would not be an important factor to me. But apparently Chris doesn't want to date people who are black, Asian, or of any other ethnic group. So I'm not entirely sure if he can even say if this would even be an option anyway. If you were in a long-term relationship and your partner gained weight due to something like surgery, recovery, or childbirth, would you think less of them as a person? What Chris rules out is not if they are willing to work hard to lose it and lose it. Yes, weight gain is so unattractive. Apparently, Chris is very attracted to weight gain. No, my partner's health is what is most important. No, my partner's weight is irrelevant to me. So, Chris is. I mean, things like, you know, recovery or childbirth, that's understandable. So, well, I think I would say, almost from Chris's perspective, if he was, you know, if he fathered a child, horrifying a thought that might be, but he this is interesting, actually. What I've uncovered from this already is that I can see perfectly the reasons why Chris would say to these things. Like, my wife has just given birth to my child. Like, of course I wouldn't leave her. This is what I would have wanted. This is to be a family. And I imagine that's what Chris would have wanted as well. So, no, of course you wouldn't just get up and go just because your wife is be bloated around the hips or whatever it is. That's just... That seems I think that's a ridiculous thing, really, to say, because... You know, just... Would you ever stop dating someone based on a rumor you heard about them? Well, rumors are just rumors unless they're brought up to the light and there's actual evidence. Chris would immediately say, well, rule out, yes. Maybe I'd give my date a chance to explain first. Well, okay, you know what, that's perfectly fine as well, just hearing somebody out. But the only other problem I will say is that based on these sort of things, it's going to, again, make Chris look... Again, like I said yesterday, not so much a pushover, but somebody who is so blindly in love with someone without really understanding what it is they actually like about them. That's what I'm getting, because that's what he's been shown to do, and through previous, relationships. I don't really want to say trial and error, because that's a bit insulting. What kind of fidelity, being faithful, is more important to you? Neither is important, Chris rules out. Physical, sexual, mental, emotional, both are equally important. Both are... Well, I would technically say they were as important as all of them were as important as each other, but how would Chris, explain himself why they are as important as each other, or both of them? You know what I'm saying? Chris would have to, like... I'm surprised, actually, there wasn't really a box here, because I know this is just meant to be very click-based answers, but there should be a chance for, like, Chris to really sort of, like, explain why. Like, if I was to do, like, this sort of, like, question and answer thing, I would at least be able to talk through exactly why. Not that I'm saying anything would come of it, but... If you were in a serious relationship, would you mind if your significant other maintained an active profile on OK Cupid? No, this would not bother me. Okay, I find that very, very difficult to believe from Chris, because it would bother me a bit, actually, if they were still looking. Maybe they just forgot to deactivate it or whatever, but, you wouldn't say this at the altar, is what I'm trying to say. But also notice how Chris would just want all of them to do this for because I know fine well the ones highlighted in green is the ones he wants his partner to answer as well. And you notice how a lot of these are in green as well. That leaves me to think about precisely what woman he's after. Someone very specific, if you ask me. Probably beginning with Megan and ending in Schroeder. Would you consider dating someone who dislikes children? No. Right, so again, Chris's ideal partner is basically someone to rock a cradle for the rest of their lives. I honestly... Why would it matter? Again, it wouldn't matter to me whether or not they want... Surely... Why does Chris... Because again... What is so unattractive about, being in a relationship where... I don't quite remember, it's not an atomic family, it's meant to be something... Guys, I had to, pause the video for a second because my brother came in, and long story short, there's a part coming up where my brother just straight up said, "You know what, James? Just roast him. Go ahead. You have my permission." Anyway, where was I? Would you ever stop dating someone based on a rumor you heard about them? Chris, no doubtedly, would want them to not say yes, because, well, I think we can all work out what that means. Maybe I'd give my date a chance to explain first. Oh, Chris would have a lot of explaining to do in that case. What kind of fidelity is most important to you? Anyway, where were we? Dislikes children, yeah. I can't believe I actually, missed that part out. your significant other's ex is coming into town, and she wants to go out to dinner with them alone. How do you react? Chris doesn't seem to think there's anything wrong with this by just saying, not thrilled, but go ahead. Chris, you can't say you want your partner to be faithful, but then would happily allow them to say, go to dinner with one of your exes. It's sort of like... It's... If you were in a long-term monogamous relationship, would you consider your partner open mouth kissing someone else cheating? Well, yeah, I think I would call it cheating, absolutely, because that's a little bit more, passionate and a little bit more, lust-filled as far as I can work out. But then again, long-term monogamous relationship. Let me just, I want to just get a little thing up, because I do remember this stuff, but I'll have to, how's this? G-A-M, monogamous, involving marriage to one person at a time. Yeah, I wouldn't even have a monogamous relationship. I think that sort of thing's ridiculous. Not that I'm saying people couldn't be happy in that, but, Anyway, were we? Would you consider having an open relationship where you can see other people? Chris wants to say yes, but he wants them absolutely to refuse no. Chris, just admit you just want somebody at home to take care of your kids, and just so you can finance you, and then you can stick your penis into them literally whenever you want and in whatever position, day or night. Just admit, Chris, that's all you want them to do. You want them to be white. You want someone to mother your kids. You want someone to mother yourself. You want somebody who is absolutely fine with the idea of going to dinner with an ex. You're okay with them, for listen, I'm only taking this from the perspective of someone who might actually be interested, but I'm not, because I wouldn't be turned on by this. This is just... I've said this before in the previous video. Treat her like a lady, not just like somebody you can just pick up and drop at the whim of a hat. And besides, we've got about a week until Valentine's Day. Imagine on Valentine's Day, you're on the rebound and you're looking for love and you came across this. If one of your potential matches was overweight, would that be a deal breaker? Yes, but only if they were obese. Chris, is there any real difference in your mind between obese and overweight? For me, they're basically one and the same. But apparently Chris would just be okay with the others because he knows fine well that he himself is, well, again, overweight, obese, whatever. A blood made out of gravy. Yes, but only if they were slightly. Yes, but only if they were obese. No, in fact, I prefer overweight people. I bet you would want them to say that, Chris. I can guarantee you would. Would you avoid all contact with an ex if your current significant other asked you to? Yes, of course. Not that Chris has had any real previous girlfriends, but that's besides the point. Chris would, I kind of have to agree with Chris on this one. Not for many of the others. Do you Google someone before a first date? No, while spoiled the mystery. Okay, Chris. Okay. I can see fine well why you would. I know fine well why you would say that. Oh boy. And this was back in 2009 when apparently he wrote this, so I think it's fair to say there was plenty more in store anyway. Why would you, for any reason, read your mate's email or pose as him or her online without his or her knowledge and permission? No, I trust them, and that would be invasive. Which, yeah, I suppose that's fair enough as well. Keeping secrets away, only if I suspected them of something. Well, if you suspected them, I'd suggest just talk to your partner at first, and if you're still unconvinced, then ask them again, and you would have to stand up for yourself and tell them you better be telling me the truth. Don't just be a wimp about this sort of thing. Your significant other is traveling and has the opportunity to stay with a good friend that they find to be attractive. What's your stance on the situation? It might be okay, but I want to discuss it first. Well, why would you discuss what? You just tell your friend fine well that, well, in fact, what difference would it make anyway? You know what? Not all relationships that end on bad terms. Some just kind of like fizzle out. It doesn't necessarily mean that they were doomed from the start or anything like that, or there's bad blood between people. Some people just grow apart from each other. I would just kind of like, it sounds, well, I'm glad he didn't want it this part. That just sounds weird. You get married. 5 years later, you realize it was a mistake. Discussion and counseling haven't made a difference. You just don't love your partner anymore. He still loves you. You decide to keep trying. Marriage means commitment. Yeah, but marriage could also mean unimaginable misery, and you have to make a very... Wait, is my sound not working? 1 second. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Sorry, for some reason my sound doesn't seem to be like coming up on my OBS, but I think everything should be okay. So let's keep going. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Just you have to it's better to if you really love them, you let them go, and just if it makes them happy, then maybe that's all that matters. Chris seems to think that he just wants to keep them around just so he'll have a hole to fill, basically. How willing are you to meet someone from OK Cupid in person? Totally willing, hesitant, but would consider. I'm not interested in meeting in person. Well, considering Chris wants to, have sex almost immediately after the 3rd date, then it's fair to say, of course, he would say he'd want to meet them in person. And also, blindly, basically say totally willing. Like a hungry dog, a hound dog. That's what Chris is. How much affection can you tolerate? Most of it. So, despite basically wanting to be in a relationship where somebody is mothering Chris, he wouldn't want it all of the time. But I reckon the second it stopped, he would be whining out for it. But also, apparently, Chris wants to rule out "get off me," as if, let's try and ignore what the implications of that alone could possibly mean. Because I can take a pretty good punt. How important is it to you to have your own unique thing, like a weekly girls' night out or guys' movie night, that you don't share with your partners? Sort of. I need friends outside of my partner. You know what? That's very much... I'd say almost the very two, but a little bit more of the second one. I need friends outside of my partner. But notice how Chris just wants, her to be open to, I'm pretty sure she would have ruled out possibly these 3 anyway. And, well, I suspect being in Chris's company for more than about, 5 hours, you desperately need some alone time. Let alone, 5 years. How long do you want your next relationship to last? 1 night, a few months, the rest of my life. I'd say that's romantic. However, not a great deal of some of the other things, if I had to take a guess, would seem romantic. Just, how much do you feel about falling in love? I love it and want it very much. Is this based on, Chris actually know what it means to fall in love, or is it just because it's the only way to make him seem attractive and, mature? I think that's... but then again, I don't think it's particularly very bad either. I try to avoid it, he wants to rule out, however. And that's kind of interesting because why would... He's looking for commitment, so... But then again, it should also be about what your other partner wants as well. It shouldn't just be about you want commitment, so unless they want the same thing, then there's no hope. You know. Would you consider connecting with someone whose relationship status is seeing someone or married? No to both. Well, I can see why. That kind of like goes without saying for me. Which makes for a better relationship? Passion, or I would actually say both, to be honest, for this one. This is kind of like a hard one to split, because you have to love someone to be with them, but you have to be with them to love them. So in many ways they're kind of like one and the same as well, from what I could work out anyway. It is a requirement that you communicate with your significant other daily in some way. Phone, email, in person, etc. No, I prefer not to communicate daily. No, it's not necessary. Yes, unless otherwise specified. Again, I kind of have to... I'll say that again, possibly in favor of Chris, because... Yeah, I think it will just because if several days go by, and if you were married and living together, then it would seem weird just to not talk to each other for days. That seems a bit strange again. Which of these options most closely describes what you're looking for in the next relationship? Someone to come home to. That's kind of nice. Someone to go out with. Someone for tonight. I would say this... I'd say pretty much the second one, because you have to like go from, you know, friends to, you know, naturally it sort of be. It can't be just them waiting at home for you. Sometimes it would have to be the other way around, because like I said, Chris's idea could just be narrowly seeing a woman to, you know, mother kids and be a housewife. Unless, of course, according to Chris, he would want them to get a job while he stays home and look after the kids. So basically, this is a lie anyway, so it's because it's the other way around. How much can intelligence turn you on? Ironic again, he would leave the other two on here, although I will have to agree on this one anyway, because that's purely my preference. But Chris, because for whatever reason he sees, you know, as it, you know, intelligence as something desirable. It also means that, you know, they can get a job with intelligence and, you know, take care of him. How long do your romantic relationships usually last? I've never been in a relationship. Well, good for... At least Chris is being honest. I can say that much. Do you believe in monogamy? Yes, he says to this. I would honestly say no, because I don't particularly think it's something that could ever work out. Not that I'm saying it couldn't, but it's just not something I would do. Now, I think this is technically where I think I should like pause for now, and we'll move on to like sex a bit later, because this was a lot to take in, and we are absolutely no way, shape or form close to finishing this. There is a lot to go, so I'll catch up with you guys in just a little bit. In a bit, boys. In a bit.